What's going on, everyone? Josh Rzepka here, and welcome to your midweek edition of Mute Monday. If you're new around here, Mute Monday is a series where I discuss and demonstrate different trumpet mutes so you know what they're all about, and more importantly, so you know what they sound like. Today, I'm really excited to be sharing with you two very cool items that were just sent to me, and one of them is a mute, and the other one, well, this is a not mute. So, obviously, this is a cup mute of sorts, and this is, well, it is a piece of wire with a little metal disc at the end. I'm going to call this a sound modifier. And Michael, who sells this, he calls it the whisper penny. And it's a very interesting concept. It's a very cool idea, and it is crazy how this makes the trumpet sound. So I'm really excited to be sharing this with you. But first, a very big thank you to Michael Otto for sending these to me so that I could create this video, although this video is not sponsored. Now, as you can see, this is basically just a metal wire that is slightly bent, and on the very end there is a little concave disc that's got 4 holes from small to large, and the material here is brass, and the entire device, this is gold plated, so it is non-reactive and it's not going to tarnish. But what do you do with this? How does it work? Well, I'm going to show you. This is what you do with it. You take this and you put it inside your mouthpiece. Yeah, that's right. You take it and you stick it and you put it inside your mouthpiece, and it looks like that. And what happens is there's a little gap between this device and the cup of your mouthpiece, and then there's those holes, and what it does is it kind of just blocks the airflow, and it gives you the coolest, most interesting sound. It gives you a really airy, well, let me just demonstrate. It sounds just like this. All right, pretty cool. I bet you weren't expecting that. And, you know, the device, it just goes right in and then it pops right out. I had a chance to speak with Michael, who created this as well as a mute. And I talked about the development and how he came up with the idea and, you know, the inspiration, all that. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But first, let's check out this cup mute. As you can see, this is made out of a beer bottle and it's got an adjustable cup on it. And this is a clear cup. Very cool. And check out this bottle up close. Now, this is no ordinary beer bottle. These are actually very limited edition beer bottles from a German manufacturer. And look at the cup here. This is resin that is poured into a mold, and it's got a little bit of a felt on the very inside, so you can just slide it over the bottle just like this. And I'm sure you're wondering, like, how good can a beer bottle cup mute play or sound? Well, I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. Now, the Whisper Penny, this was created 12 years ago, and the story goes, one of Michael's friends was visiting his house, and he saw lying out an old Italian thumbtack, and he said to him, he's like, oh, you know, you can actually take that and put it inside of your mouthpiece, and when you play, it's going to give you a really cool effect. And obviously, that is a terrible idea. You don't want to do that. You know, you can put it in there. Maybe you're going to get some sound, but you got to be careful breathing in. You know, you could just breathe it in, and that would be very, very dangerous. And he thought about it and said, wow, I really like the concept there. The idea where, you know, I can modify my sound and get this breathy, airy sound that just like sounds so cool. But let's figure out a way to do it safely. So he worked with his team, and they spent about a year creating this, and they tested, you know, different shapes, you know, convex versus concave, different amount of holes. They went through a lot of different permutations until they settled on this, and this will actually work for the trumpet and the flugelhorn. Michael says he uses it on the flugelhorn primarily, and he loves it. I'm not testing this on the flugel in this video, but you're going to hear a lot of it on the trumpet. And for the flugelhorn, he sells a version that's just a little bit shorter, although he said you could just take some cutters here and cut the end of this and file it down so it's smooth, and that's going to work on the flugelhorn. Now, when this came to me in the mail, the way that it was bent, you know, it was kind of, it was difficult to put inside of the mouthpiece. I was having difficulty kind of pushing it in. And I talked to him. He says, oh, no, just take it and, you know, bend it a little bit more and and make it so that it's easier to go in. So I just bent it so much that it just kind of falls in. So, you gotta work with it and play with it until, okay, now it's going in, it's fitting real nice, it's snug, it's not gonna fall out. That's really basically all you gotta do. One thing to keep in mind, this device is designed for, kind of like your standard mouthpiece. This is not for a lead trumpet mouthpiece or something that's very shallow. Whatever your deepest mouthpiece is, that's what you want to use this on, and that's why it's so great for the flugelhorn. Now, Michael says that he really uses this just on like 1 or 2 songs in a set, in a show, because, this is an effect, and, it does change how the trumpet plays. Additionally, he said that this works best in smaller rooms or playing into a microphone, not in a very big hall, a very big room, because the way that this works is you get that really breathy sound up close. And the sound of the trumpet really carries. So the further away you get, the less of that breathiness and airiness in the sound you get. All right, now let me tell you the story about this cup mute. So as you saw, this is a beer bottle. This is a resin cup. It's very solid. It is not flexible. And Michael saw that there were people out there making mutes, primarily straight mutes, out of beer bottles. And he was like, okay, that's interesting. They're not the best straight mutes, but it's cool. And this beer company in Germany, this brewery, is particularly well known, and they've got these limited edition beers that they've come out with, only a couple different ones. And this particular bottle is from 2014. This is a very old bottle, and these are really hard to find out. These are collectibles, and he's got to buy them, and very often he's spending 20 or 30 euros just for one beer. And of course, he buys it, he gets it, he opens it up and dumps the beer out because the beer has gone bad a very long time ago. Instead of just using any old beer bottle, this is the right shape and dimensions for what he was trying to create, and he loved the design. He was thinking, well, why should I just use an ugly bottle when I can use a really cool collectible one? And he's got a buddy who is great with 3D printing. What he did was he 3D printed a mold so that they could pour resin to create this cup. And once it's cured, then there's a finishing process in order to, get it to be nice and smooth. And there you got it. I think that's enough talking. Let's hear how all this sounds. All right, so you've just heard the Whisper Penny as well as this adjustable cut mute. And what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Really interested to know your thoughts. And while you're at it, why don't you hit that like and subscribe button. Now, starting off with this very cool device. At first, I wasn't quite sure. I was a little skeptical. I'm like, this is unusual because, usually you're going to change your sound. You're going to put a mute in the bell. And I had never encountered something quite like this. But I gotta say, I really just love the sound, and especially like for playing a ballad or, recording something, it's such a cool effect. And, that's really what they were going for. Like I said, Michael Otto, who creates this, he only uses it on one song, 2 songs. And you really aren't going to want to play this on more than 1 or 2 songs because, it does affect the blow of the trumpet. It affects the response and how you play. Obviously you're adding extra metal inside of the mouthpiece, so your cup's not going to be as deep, and the articulation, the response, it's going to be a little different. For me, playability wise, as you heard, I could get, all around the horn. The low notes were more challenging. The response and the articulation, you got to spend a little bit of time kind of like adjusting and putting it in and saying, okay, like if I push it in like real tight or if I leave like a little gap, you got to find what works for you. And once you get it dialed in, you're going to have fun playing with this. It's just really so unique. So if you're looking for something that's going to give you a really distinct and different sound and effect, this is something that you should consider. But like I said, it is going to affect how it plays. There is more back pressure and resistance, and it makes things a little squirrely, here and there. But once you get it dialed in, it's not that bad. And if you're only playing it on a couple tunes, you're going to get used to it. You're going to be like, yeah, I really like that sound. It is very cool. All right, so what did you think about this cup mute? I gotta say, initially I thought that this just wasn't gonna play very well because it's a beer bottle that's been adapted to be a mute. However, I will say I was pleasantly surprised. This actually plays pretty well. There are some notes that kind of jump out that are a little uneven. When you're playing chromatically, from low to high, you're gonna feel some notes that are a little more open, some that are a little more closed off. That being said, this plays pretty well, pretty in tune from low to high. It's got a pretty even response. And because of the materials that this is made out of, the tonal color is a bit on the brighter side. The aluminum, this hard resin cup, there's no felt inside. This is a brighter mute with a little bit more energy to it. So if that's something you're looking for, if you're a fan of this brewery, if you love beer, it's a fun thing that you could just have out on the bandstand. People are going to be like, wait a minute, is that a beer bottle? And then they're gonna look at the design and they're gonna be like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's my thoughts on that adjustable cup mute. All right, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.